Thing is about the telephone, actually, it's so direct. Therefore, it's the quickest way to actually drum up some work. We call it dialing for dollars.
Nowadays, it's like email marketing and, Facebook ads and stuff. And actually, when you get a phone call, it actually can be a little bit left field. Really cuts through the noise.
It's best not just to jump on a call and say, oh, do you have any jobs I can do? And sound a bit like, a beggar on the street corner with your cap in hand. Like,
seriously, the cheese works. The cheese is funny. The cheese is cheesy because it's cheesy. It's funny because it's cheesy, and it works because it's cheesy.
If you've ever needed more jobs quickly without spending lots of money on marketing, tune into this episode where we outline the cheapest and most direct way to get your business its next job. Hey there, Tony Fraser-Jones, the host of the Profitable Tradie podcast. Looking forward to hanging out today on this episode with my mate Phil Smith, co-host. How you doing there, Philly Bowl?
Always good, as usual.
You say that every time.
I say that every time. I've got to come up with a better line, but I just don't have one. I'm always good.
You're full of lines.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we talking about?
Mate, we're talking about how to get more work for your business quickly and in a cost-effective way. And I think sometimes in business, you just need to get some more work. Perhaps you have a project that falls over at the last minute, or your work pipeline's running dry. Maybe you've just been busy doing all the work that you actually have at the moment, and you haven't had time to price the next lot of jobs, but you need a way to actually get work quickly and fill those gaps.
Yeah, for sure. It happens to everyone. And one of the best ways to actually fill your schedule or your calendar, and it's a very old strategy that's kind of gone out of fashion, but it's still the quickest way to a sale, and that is the actual telephone, or, as we say, the old dog and bone.
Yeah.
You probably can't remember, but you actually had to dial a telephone at one stage.
Oh, no, I had one of them, mate. I am actually old enough for that one. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I even had one with buttons. Had a very long cord, so you could walk into another room.
For a bit of
but
privacy.
you had to slam the door on the cord, which is,
awkward.
Very awkward.
Thing is about the telephone, actually, it's so direct.
Yeah.
Like, it's better than in person or email or even text. If you can actually talk to someone, it is the quickest way between two people, and therefore it's the quickest way to actually drum up some work. And it's a very powerful and cost-effective strategy.
Yeah.
We call it dialing for dollars.
Dialing for dollars. And I'm sure we have a story to kick that off.
Well, funnily enough, I started this business a long time ago, like 2009, 2010.
Once upon a time,
way
when
back
dinosaurs roamed the earth.
I didn't know much about marketing, but I'd done a sales course, and they taught us how to use the telephone. And so I simply got the phone book back, remember the phone book?
There are still phone books, actually.
Those were the days,
There
my
are
friend.
still phone books. They exist.
Yeah, so
they're used for people to rip them apart in strongman competitions.
That's right, or doorstops.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, I just got a list of people from the business and builders and plumbers and electricians, and I had a script, and I just called them up.
Yeah.
I was making like 40, 50 calls a day, booking some appointments to catch up with some people, talk about their business, and within 10 weeks, I think we had 12 clients we were working with, and that was just through using the telephone. So it's kind of weird. We're doing this podcast now, but actually this all kicked off from using, telemarketing way back in the dark ages.
Yeah. The thing I love about it as well is it really has come back around. I mean, telemarketing at one point became so, so just common. You're getting telemarketed by everyone. But now, nowadays, it's like email marketing and, Facebook ads and stuff. And actually, when you get a phone call, it actually can be a little bit left field. Really cuts through the noise. So
it does. And we did a training for our members on this. It was probably a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah, it was. It was in the middle of the pandemic.
Every 4 months, we get together with all our members and we have a 2-day boot camp. We drill into some really cool topics and get together and share wins and ideas. And we did this training called Dialing for Dollars. Basically what we did, we taught the members, the nuts and bolts of telemarketing, gave them a script and said, right, we're going to spend 40 minutes. Actually, you're going to call people while I sit here and do nothing, which was awesome. Call people and book jobs in.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Like, in 40 minutes, across the group, 273 new jobs were booked in.
Yeah.
Like, added up across the group.
Yeah.
So this is incredibly powerful. And people were just buzzing. They're like, flipping heck, I never even thought about this. This is so simple and so easy to do.
Well, it was actually really electric watching it because at the start of the module, when you're telling people this is what we're going to do, you saw the first part was the dread and the fear of, I'm not going to want to do that. I'm going to turn my Zoom camera off. No, don't turn your camera off. And sure enough, everyone started making calls, and you saw the facial expression change over that 40 minutes from, a little bit of skepticism and fear and reluctance. And then by the end of it, it was just buzzing. Like people would just take another call. And they looked ecstatic and they were just like smashing it. And people were high-fiving and cheering and writing in the chat, got another
the chat
job.
was just blowing up.
It was crazy,
with people about the jobs they were booking in.
It was awesome.
And so all of this, the marketing or the sales work they were doing actually was costing nothing except for some legwork. And just toughening up and making the calls. So it's incredibly powerful. And I think it'd be really, really helpful. At the moment, some people are a little bit slower in some places for work. Some of the economy is a little bit soft in places, but there's plenty of work out there if you know to do it. And having a way to do it that's quick and simple is massive. So I think this is going to be really helpful. Yeah,
I think it's awesome. And I think a few problems we run into if we don't have a dialing for dollars process, right?
Well, I think the first one is there's a lot of wasted opportunities. So, there are people out there who just don't get around to getting the job done. And maybe you can think in your own house or business, there's probably some things you've wanted to get done for ages.
Oh, I've got 10 of them right now.
Yeah, and we have a bunch of rental properties, and there's always stuff that needs to be, not necessarily has to be fixed now, but you want to get fixed. Maybe it's the extra power point or get an extractor fan or a new heater or whatever it is, and you just kind of know you'll get around to it. But there's people out there who are just waiting for someone to ask them, can they do it for them?
Oh, mate, I've got 3 or 4 things I've been promising Maya I would do for about 6 months. And honestly, if someone called up and said, hey, I'll just do that for you, I'd be like, yep, sweet, awesome. Come around, please.
A lot of your clients, the people around you that you can help, they're actually busy and they're just disorganized like the rest of us. So there's opportunities out there if we can just turn up. We don't basically have to show up.
Yeah.
So that's really powerful. And just remember that when you are jumping on the phone, you're actually doing a service for people. They won't say yes to your call if they don't need you or don't want to.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to show up, and the phone is a really quick way to show up.
It's an easy way to get in front.
If you don't have a good process for dialing, you're going to have idle hands as well.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have people potentially sitting around. So you'll be like, oh, well, the schedule's a bit light, work's dried up, project's fallen over, whatever, or it's been pushed back, or there's supplier issues, whatever it is. And you'll be like, what do I do? Well, they can clean the vans or the utes or the trucks. Maybe they can tidy the warehouse or the factory. That actually costs you big time.
Yeah,
it's money you can never get back. It's work you can never sell again. So that's important. And the last thing is maybe you have tried this, but you really don't know how to go about it, because there is a way to do this and a way that doesn't work so well. And you can end up feeling really tongue-tied and a bit shy and nervous actually about getting on the phone. I mean, I'm sure if you're listening, you've felt like that. Maybe you've had to chase up work or ask for jobs or chase up money, whatever it is. What happens if they say no?
Yeah.
What happens if they laugh at me? And let's be honest, that's a really real fear. Like, rejection is a very basic human fear.
Yeah.
And our two sort of needs, we need to be loved and we need to know that we're good enough right at the bottom. It's a bit D&M already. Sorry, I went there quickly. But
it's true, though.
It's true. And, we can feel that fear of rejection is very powerful for some people. So if you know how to do this in the right way, you can bust through that, which is very, very powerful.
I think on top of that, Tony, is something that's probably more prevalent these days as well, because, I remember the one thing I do remember from back in the day is if you wanted to talk to your mates or anything like that, you had to call them up on the phone, and who knew who was going to pick the phone up? I mean, often it was their dad. I remember calling a few young ladies for very polite chats, and, you call them up and the dad picks up and, who do you want to speak to? And there was this whole thing of you had to take that risk of actually speaking to a real live person that might not be who you want to talk to, making polite conversation, and then getting on and speaking to somebody else. And again, having to talk to them in real time and not having time to carefully curate your message or anything like that and put little emojis. And you didn't have any of that. You had to actually talk to people in real time. But you don't have to anymore. And I think people are getting more and more used to that. And as a result, the very thought of having to speak to someone on the phone in real time that I don't know is honestly terrifying. We're out of practice.
I'm surprised that you were short of words, mate.
No, I wasn't. But I've seen other people.
Right. You used to film like training calls for your mates about.
Yeah, I'm like, this is how to speak to the dad, all right?
Yeah. Silver-tongued devil.
Oh, never. Mate. Well, on the other hand, look, if we do have a process for dialing for dollars, big upsides.
Well, the thing I think that's powerful is you're basically locked and loaded. You've actually got a tool in your toolbox that you can use to deal with gaps in your workflow. It's like you've got a weapon or a tool to use. It's there, and so you can, use it, pull the trigger on it if you like, to actually make the workflow happen, which helps with confidence.
Yeah.
You're not feeling at the mercy of the world, the economy, your clients, whatever. you can make your own economy because you're actually starting to take responsibility for generating consistent revenue, which is what it's all about. So you can keep your team busy.
Yep.
You've actually got the confidence too to make decisions about growing the business because you've got some tools in your toolbox to actually keep the work coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people when they grow, they go, yeah, but what if I run out of work? What if there's a gap in the calendar and I've got people sitting around? Whereas for you, it would be, so I'll just jump on the phone and fill that gap. It's that simple. Anyway, next problem. You can just get on and do it.
I mean, you would fill that gap, wouldn't you?
I always fill the gap, mate.
Yeah, fill in the gap. Nice. You do feel confident. Like if you know how to do it, you can feel really confident about making these calls. It's a big personal development thing, and this is the weird thing about business, right? To be better at business, you actually have to develop as a person. You actually have to improve your ability to do things that are difficult. To take some emotional hardship, some mental hardship, take on those challenges, put yourself in a position where you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. The money, the growth, and the success live in the uncomfortable area.
Totally.
And
growth lives just outside your comfort zone.
Growth is just outside your comfort zone. So if you want to grow, you've got to put yourself in a situation where you do feel uncomfortable and you've got to do things you haven't done before to get results you haven't got before.
That's it. I always love that Ray Kroc saying, if you're green, you're growing. So, keep yourself green.
I like that. You're green, you're growing.
That's it. Gotta listen to old Ray.
Ray, sharp.
Uncle Ray.
Anyway. What did you have last night when I saw you out? Was
that bit of Kentucky Fried?
KFC.
Oh yeah.
Athlete.
I don't normally partake, but I was off to rugby training, so felt like a good time to service the engine.
Yeah.
Give it some performance fuel.
Yeah, rugby training was cancelled though, wasn't it?
Yeah, so in the end I just had the KFC and went home, but...
Actually, you didn't go home.
Well, I didn't go home. I actually went to the pub with Cam, but hey, look, I was home, very shortly after that.
Right. Yeah, nice job, mate. Yeah.
Nailed it.
You're an athlete.
Anyway, how do we do this?
Yeah. So dialing for dollars is the process, and really it's just getting on the phone and asking people if there's any jobs they need done.
Yeah.
But as I said, there is a way to do this that is effective, and there's a way to do it that doesn't really work so well. Yeah. And it's best not just to jump on a call and say, "Oh, do you have any jobs I can do?" and sound a bit like a beggar on the street corner with your cap in hand, like, "Oh, please, sir, can I have a crumb of bread?" That doesn't really work.
Well, you do need to keep some positioning and credibility.
Yep.
So there's basically a way to ask that very question in a way where you keep the positioning and credibility and actually come off well and build value, while asking for work, which is great.
And this is a really important sales point, because this is the pointy end of sales, right? Is people, if you sound desperate, desperation kills sales more than anything. They can smell desperation a mile off, and the desperation can come off in the way you sound, or if you take kind of a permissive tone, or you use that upward inflection at the end of every sentence. That just doesn't work. So you don't want to do that. You want to do it in a way that you come across as confident, and you're asking without being needy and desperate.
Yeah, nothing worse than being needy and desperate. And I suppose the big thing with this as well is once we have the right script, the next thing is it is a numbers game. There are a percentage of people you're going to call who are ready right now with jobs. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's like we said earlier, it's the people that are sitting around, they've got stuff to do. They just haven't got around to it. And when you call, they're actually ready to go. Yeah, sweet, I've got this, this, that, and the other thing ready for you. It's probably about 5 to 10% of the people you call. And so that's why the numbers game side is really, really important, because if you call bugger all people, you'll get bugger all jobs. It's really that simple. You have to call a decent amount of people in order to really capitalize, because as we said, it might only be 5 to 10% of people that are actually ready with jobs now.
Yeah, and that's important. So if there's only 10 people on your list, 5 to 10% is what? It's half to one.
Yeah. And
you might make 9 calls and you haven't got any results, and you're like, "Oh, this doesn't work."
Yeah.
Well, no, you just haven't played the numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
And so if you have 30 people on your thing, well, 10% of that is 3.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to get results. So numbers really count with sales.
Yeah. And again, you call 100 people and you get 10 jobs.
That's right.
And I think the big thing with that is that then you're like, "Oh, well, I've called those 100 people. I'm going to run out of people to call eventually." I'm like, no, because you could call that same 100 numbers 2 months later and there's a different 10% that are ready with something. So it's, you can reuse those numbers. It actually doesn't exhaust the way you think it would. But end of the day, you do have to call a decent amount of people, or you just won't get the capitalization on those numbers.
Yeah. That leads to the really pointy end of this. So you get it, numbers game helps, having a script, and maybe we'll talk about the script a bit later. But look, it's way easier to call warm, to hot leads than it is to call cold leads.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you just, I was pretty crazy. I just grabbed numbers out of the phone book. But I'm a crazy guy. What can I say? But if you can do it to people who are warmer, then that's a great thing to do. So a key part of this process to dialing for dollars in your service business or any business is to cultivate the soil. So if you can do some work beforehand, it's going to give you much better results from the calling. And if someone wants to do business with you, there's a couple of things that need to happen. They need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. That's important. We typically don't do business with people we don't know, like, and trust.
Yeah,
now, obviously,
not.
The bigger the purchase, the more know, like, and trust there has to be.
Yeah.
If it's a smaller purchase, that factors back. It's like a continuum.
Yeah, definitely.
So the thing is, we want to actively warm up our leads on an ongoing basis. So if you think about maybe there's 3 circles. So the inner circle is your hot leads.
Yeah.
So that's your existing clients and probably some referrals.
Yeah.
So they're people who you do work with relatively regularly, or you've done work with in the recent past, and it's gone well. So they are the first people to call. They're your hot list.
Yeah.
So call them. Then the next circle out from there is your warm list. So that's your database. So, maybe that's people that you haven't done work for before, but they're on your database because they've inquired. They're people who are in your social media. So your Facebook, your Twitter, your TikTok, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff. Past clients who maybe you haven't done work with for a while. So those are kind of the warm lists that, or people you actually market to already as well. So maybe you're actually doing some marketing, so you're not cold to them. There's some no, maybe a little bit of like, maybe not heaps of trust yet, but it's starting to build.
Yeah,
and then the outer layer is the cold list. So that's people who don't know who you are, and who you've never really had any contact with.
Yep.
And look, you can build that list as well and drive them in towards the middle. And the cold lists, might drive-bys, might see a bunch of people, take names and put them in your cold list. You can buy a list of people from database companies. You can scrape the internet, and there's people who, grab everyone's details. Maybe you're targeting all the property managers or real estates in your area. You could get a list of those people to start, nurturing. But what you want to do is actually consistently nurture this list so the people in the hot stay hot, the warms get warmer, because then when you go and telemarket to them, when you dial for dollars, your results are just going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
It actually goes from a 5 to 10% to maybe a 15 to 20% conversion.
I think another thing I just want to point out here is, in order to be doing that, we actually have done a previous episode on something that we call the prospect nurture system, which is a really good system for actually continuing to warm that database. And again, like you say, so that when you go to shake that tree, there's actually fruit in it.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I think just a point I want to make is, guys, if you're not already building a list, you should always be building a list. Always, adding to that database and building up that base of numbers and emails that you've got. So I think a tip with this is, if you're running, ads on social media, or if, maybe you have a web page with an inquiry field or something like that, maybe it's on landing pages from Google Ads, whatever, you'll be collecting inquiries. And when you do that, there are people that sometimes they'll take an email address, or sometimes they take a phone number, and I'd really encourage you to always take both. Reason being is because when you've got the email address, you can continue to warm up those leads through your prospect nurture system, and when you have the phone number, you can dial for dollars when you need to. But it's the capture of both that's really important. I have seen a lot of people whose inquiry fields on their websites will have one or the other. Please make sure you have both. It helps you to build a list.
Massive. So the thing is, even if you don't actively kind of nurture your future clients at the moment, you'll still have people on your your hot list.
Yeah.
It's your existing clients or your warm list, your people in your kind of orbit who know you are. So they're the first people that you target.
Yeah.
But if you do some work consistently, then there'll be more people in the hot and warm list who you can telemarket or dial for dollars when you actually need to.
Yeah, that's right. And then the next thing is, when you do actually dial for dollars, have a script. Please have a script.
Yeah.
That way you avoid the awkward call. You basically call up and say, "Hi, it's Phil here. You've never heard of me, but can I have some work?"
Yeah. Have you got any jobs going?
Probably won't go so well, and won't do anything for your credibility. So we have a pretty awesome script that has a pretty awesome track record, which we use with our members.
Yeah.
Maybe we could go through that.
Yeah. So there's 4 parts to the script. So you need an introduction. It's absolutely critical when you're dialing for dollars that you come across confident.
Yeah.
Confident is critical. So we call it confident and funny.
Yeah. Well, really, sales is a transference of confidence.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any confidence, you won't create confidence in what you do,
Yeah.
and they can't buy that confidence.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you do Google ads or any other type of marketing, you're doing the same thing. You're asking for a job. So it's just at arm's length.
Yeah.
So, what's wrong with actually doing it directly, speaking to someone? It's just like the same thing, but just a little bit more close and personal. So you want to be confident and funny. And I suggest you do something like this. Hey, is that the famous Phil?
Yeah.
And just that line, just saying the famous Phil, what does Phil do? He chuckles and he's like, oh,
I
no,
don't
not
know
really.
what you mean by famous.
Yeah, you famous?
Yeah.
And humor and confidence just unlocks people's defenses. They're like, well, this person's a little different.
Yeah.
Have a conversation.
Now, again, you might be listening to that and thinking, God, it's so cheesy. Oh, I'd never say that. And I'm like, yeah, that's why this doesn't work for you, bro. Like, seriously, the cheese works. The cheese is funny. The cheese is cheesy because it's cheesy. It's funny because it's cheesy, and it works because it's cheesy. So please do it.
Yep. So that intro, confident and funny, is really important. And then you just need to build a little bit of rapport. So you just introduce yourself and you just create a connection point. And there's lots of ways you can do that. You could say something like, hey, I was driving past your site at, Timber Street. How's the project going? Hey, I saw one of your vans driving around this morning and I thought of you. Maybe, hey, I saw your post on Facebook about blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Or I was talking to Phil and I didn't realize you were friends.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I was thinking of you this morning.
Maybe just don't say I was thinking of you in the shower. That'd be a bit weird. But other than that, go for gold.
It's only weird if you make it weird.
Well, it's all about what you do with your eyebrows while you say it. Eyebrows up, it's all right. Eyebrows down, it's menacing and predatory.
What about one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down?
Well, you're not The Rock, bro, so just rein it in.
I can do that.
Rein it in. Rein it in, Tone.
Yeah. So you just want to create some rapport so you can have a brief conversation.
Yep.
Because it's weird just to go for the kill straight away.
Yeah, 100%.
The next part is you just take control of the call. This is really important. So don't let the call go on for 10 minutes of chit-chat because they'll be knowing you're calling for a reason. So short rapport, quick conversation, get down to the point. People respect that.
Yeah.
Like weak salespeople talk way too much. Strong salespeople cut to the chase.
Well, weak salespeople try to pretend they're not selling you anything.
Yeah, which is
just weak.
It is
and,
weak.
And it's obvious. It doesn't fool anybody. In fact, it makes you seem like a weasel.
That's right.
So don't do that.
Weasel. Anyway, so what you can do is you just take control of the call and you get to the point. Say, hey, look, I should get to the point. Reason I'm calling, we've got a favor to ask. And then you just ask, say, hey, maybe you could say something like, hey, we've got a gap in our work the next couple of weeks. Wondering if you've got any jobs you need help with at the moment.
Yeah.
And then just shut up. Say nothing.
Yeah.
Let them think. Let them talk.
Yeah. Don't keep explaining or anything like that. Just stop at that point.
Yep. And they'll say one or two things. Oh, yeah, we have. Or, oh, we might do. Or they'll say, no, we haven't. No problem. And then you finish up. That's it. So you just need a good intro, build a little rapport, take control, and ask.
Yeah.
Just in a pretty straightforward way, and that works incredibly well.
Yeah, killer script and super, super easy to do, but have a script and follow it, or otherwise you can get off track and start to lose that positioning and confidence, which is a real killer. I think the next thing is basically about mastering the inner game. So, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, I think the very thought of just getting on the phone and calling people, it can freak you out. Like, we have to master that inner mind game in order to be good at this, but more importantly, to actually just start, because that's, starting is going to stop most people. And at the bottom, it really what it's going to get to is, sales is going to tap into that, deep human fear of rejection. So it doesn't matter what type of sales you're in, that's going to be something that's on your mind. What if they say no? Which is like a psychological death, but the fact is it doesn't actually kill you, right, to hear a no. And in fact, like if one thing I find helpful is if I know 5 to 10% of people are probably going to say yes to this, well, if I make 10 calls and the first 6 say no, I'm like, awesome, I must be getting close, which is, it helps you to keep dialing and helps you to keep on. But I think the big thing here is that rejection is going to be really, really scary, and it's going to be easy to get as well. But it's the fear that's the problem. If you can master this, basically you can use that confidence gained in every area of your business and life. So whether it's asking for money or asking for work, dealing with difficult clients or team members, dealing with difficult clients, as we said, is something which is always scary if it's something that's gone wrong with a job or maybe they haven't paid you on time. I mean, these are all things where it's that inner psychological game that you have to be able to win.
This is the key to success. And as we said, the win, the gain, the results are in the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
But it's like, when you're a young fella or a young lass, you're asking someone out. Like, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And that's because there's rejection involved. But if someone says no to you, you're like, I actually didn't die. That wasn't that terrible.
Yeah.
It's the fear of the rejection that is the problem.
Yeah.
That's what locks you up. The actual rejection is, I'm still breathing.
It's actually not that bad once it happens.
Next,
Yeah.
particularly with making calls, it's like that's actually nothing. It's the fear of it that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's recognizing that is huge. Mastering that inner game is massive. And we can actually use pain and pleasure here. You can actually get some leverage on yourself to think about, well, if I don't make these calls, what's the situation going to be like? Well, I'm not going to have work. I'm going to start getting light on revenue. That could affect cash flow. And so you up the kind of pain in your own mind about not taking action. That can really help push you to actually take the action you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's huge. And I think as well, before you pick up the phone, like, get in the right state, because the state that you're in will really come across through the phone and project how you actually sound and how you come across. So I think, you have to get a way to deal with that fear and procrastination. And a good way, like I said, is getting that right mental and emotional state, because success in using the phone, it's not actually so much about what you say, although that does help a lot. It's important. It's more how you come across. So are you confident, assured, and professional rather than like timid, weak, and awkward? So a bunch of ways you can get in state. Number one, before you jump on the phone, just actually smile. Like, just put a big shit-eating grin on your face. I think the big thing with that is that when you smile, try this if you're listening. Pause the recording and try saying something with a smile on your face and listen to how it sounds. And then try saying something with a frown on your face, listen to how it sounds. Like, your voice, your tone of voice will very much follow your facial expression. And on top of that, just remind yourself, stand up tall if you can at your phone. Stand up tall, puff your chest out, shoulders back, feeling good, really looking at yourself in a positive light, big smile on your face, and then pick up the phone and dial. You'll come across so much more confident, and it will make all the difference.
Yeah, like standing up is a great thing to do. We often make calls when we're walking around. So just sitting down, hunched over a desk is not a great way to do it. If you're going to sit down with your feet on the desk, leaning back so you're relaxed, or get up and walk around, which is how most of us make our phone calls anyhow. Exercise, if you make your calls after you've been to the gym, you'll smash it.
Yeah.
Because you're just in a good state.
You have a different energy.
Yeah, breath work, some short, sharp in-breaths, kind of the Wim Hof stuff, can really change your energy as well. Even affirmations like, I'm a sales legend. I make calls and I make money.
I love money and money loves me.
I'm an absolute sales ninja and everyone is delighted to hear my voice. All those affirmations can really make a big difference. Yeah. And that's what great salespeople do, just like great sports performers. They deal with the inner game.
Yeah, so important. So, basically to get started,
we need a list. That's the key thing. So get a list and get 3 lists. Start with your hot list, call them first, then have your warm list, call them second, and then you got your cold list, you call them, third.
Yeah.
And the aim is to get the cold people into the warm list through.
I like how you said third, because it's not last. You'll do this again sometime. So there is no last.
Yeah, there's never a limit of people you can hit up,
No.
There's people on the cold list. And then you just make the calls and you bank the money.
Yeah, too easy.
Too easy.
All right, well, let's land this plane.
Alrighty, using telephone is the shortest and cheapest way to get your next job. Get your dialing for dollars system sorted so that it's good to go when you need it, and start warming up those clients now. Thanks for listening, team. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.